the world's great novels. Out of the hill country of the South, from the generations that stretched back into the centuries, came the lonely giant whose sprawling books stand as a colossus in American literature. Look Homeward, Angel, Of Time and the River, The Web and the Rock, You Can't Go Home Again. Strange headings for the massive flow of words that were the books of Thomas Wolfe.
The National Broadcasting Company presents a program taken from the lesser-known works of Thomas Wolfe. A flavor and a sampling of the mighty river of words that piled up in wooden packing cases on the floor of his Brooklyn apartment. He called his hero by many names. Eugene Gant, George Weber, and many more. But he wrote out of his own past. He poured his life into those wooden packing cases, into the stacks of yellowing manuscript, for he died too soon, cut off. His greatest work dammed up within him. His tremendous output, merely a trickle of the whole that never came.
I wrote about night and darkness in America, and the face of the sleepers in 10,000 little towns, and of the tides of sleep, and how the rivers flowed forever in the darkness. I wrote about the hissing glut of the tides upon 10,000 miles of coast, of how the moonlight blazed down on the wilderness and filled the cat's closed eye with blazing yellow. I wrote about death and sleep, and of that enfabled rock of life we call the city. I wrote about October, of great trains that thundered through the night, of ships and stations in the morning, of men in harbors and the traffic of the ships.
He lived lonely in crowded city warrens, in London, Paris, Germany. He lived lonely, pouring his loneliness out onto the fresh white pages of the great ledgers he carried, bound volumes that would have dwarfed another man, for he was a giant. He towered above his fellows, and his very awesome height set him apart and lonely. He remembered as a child how his mother watched his gangling arms and legs with grave, lip-pursing concern. He wrote of this years later, the memory of the gawky child that stayed with the giant man.
Son, where are you, boy? Oh, just step in here, Doctor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, I don't know where that boy's got to.
Well, perhaps you can tell me more of his trouble.
Well, it's not exactly trouble, Doctor. It's the way he's growing.
Then his complaint.
No, not a complaint exactly. It's only the last couple of years. I was speaking to his father the other day, and he agreed with me. You better speak to Dr. McGuire, he says.
Where is the boy? I'd like to take a look at him.
That's the very thing. Son, where are you, boy?
Huh?
You call me, Mama?
You've been listening behind that door. I've been calling everywhere. Dr. McGuire wants to see you.
Yeah, well, take off your shirt, Sonny.
Go ahead.
Mama.
Oh, take it off. I vow.
Oh, all right.
Well, here, let me see your arm. Now turn around.
Ouch! That's my back.
Huh? Now, boy, can you stoop over and touch the floor?
Sure.
Without bending your knees?
Like this? I can put my hands flat on the floor if you want me to. See?
Oh, I don't like it. Don't seem natural to me.
All right now, youngster. Lie down on the couch.
Mama, I want to go out.
You go on now and do as the doctor says.
Oh.
That's it. Now, see how far back you can bend your legs.
You mean...
Go on now.
You mean like this?
No, farther. No, further.
My land.
Go on. Is that the best you can do? Why, I know a boy who can wrap his legs all the way around his neck.
Oh, I can do that. Look.
Well,
I can wiggle my toes.
Oh, get out of here. I don't like to look at anything like that.
Can I get up now, Mama?
Oh, it just don't seem natural. Go on now, boy, and untwist yourself.
why, you little monkey.
What's that?
I've seen him knock-kneed, bow-legged, cross-eyed, pigeon-toed, rickety. But that's the strangest thing I ever saw.
I can do lots more like that.
Well, what is it, Doctor? What's wrong with him?
Oh, nothing at all. He's all right. He's just a little monkey.
But he don't look right, hardly.
Well, I've seen them when they shoot up like weeds and when you couldn't make them grow at all. But I never saw one before that grew like a weed in one place and stood still in another. Look at those arms and legs. Did you ever in your life see such hands and feet on a child of his age?
Oh, it's awful. I know it is. We can't find anything in the stores to fit him. It's just awful.
Well, he'll be all right, won't you, Sonny, huh? He'll get all his parts together someday and grow out of it.
It's awful.
Well, he'll grow out of it. But into a mountain or an elephant, I couldn't say. But right now, he's a monkey.
Woman, where are you? Never a greeting in my own house. Never a word.
That's your father, boy. Untwist yourself.
A cold and empty house. A silent house. A silent house. Well, McGuire, what are you doing here?
The boy?
The boy. Woman, this is your work. Unnatural female that you are, you've brought a monster into the world. He lead us out of house and home and not rest till I've gone to the poorhouse in a pauper's grave. Nor man nor beast hath fallen so far. Well, what's your opinion, McGuire?
He'll be all right.
He says I'm a monkey.
Merciful heavens, if he had hair on him, they couldn't tell him from a monkey now.
I vow it's unnatural.
Well, son, I'm glad to know it's all right. I guess it was the same with me.
Was it, Papa?
Now, don't you worry. You'll grow up to be a big man someday. A big man like your father.
And he was a big man. A 6'6" giant in a world of 5'8" middling men. He lived in a world of beds too short, tables too low, and meals too small. He lived with the thousands of funny things men say to the giant.
Hey, how's the weather up there? A tall drink of water, yes, sir. Hi, Shorty. Shorty, did you hear that? Shorty.
My life has been spent in solitude and wandering. We who dwell in the heart of solitude are always the victims of self-doubt. For ever and ever in our loneliness, shameful feelings of inferiority will rise up suddenly to overwhelm us in a poisonous flood of horror, disbelief, and desolation. All this the lonely man must know. He knows that dark time is flowing by him like a river. The huge, dark wall of loneliness is around him now. Time flows by him like a river, and he waits in his room like a creature held captive by an evil spell. And he will hear far off the murmurous drone of the great earth, and feel that his powers are wasting from him while the river flows, and that all his life has come to nothing.
He had the hillman's contempt for intellectual pretension and, some say, for intellect. He hated with a bitter, twisted, corroding hatred. And all this was not good, for he hated men and women for being men and women, and his artist's soul turned inward on himself, and through his writings gleams a trace of self placed higher than all else. And then there were the critics. He wrote of one, Dr. Hugo Twelvetrees Turner, middle of the road by principle, practice, and dedication, gusher and drumbeater for the obvious and the successful. In the early days, the critic dismissed the work of modern writers thus.
They are a group of dirty little boys who scrawl bad words in grubby chalk upon the walls to shock their elders.
Superb. Did you hear what Turner called those modern hoodlums? Dirty little boys.
Not a month passed, but the good doctor discovered another poet, another novel greater than Tolstoy, another new sensational movement. Dr. Turner was always in the forefront of culture, but occasionally he had to sprint to keep up. In 1923, he wrote of James Joyce's Ulysses.
That encyclopedia of filth, which has become the Bible of our younger intellectuals.
But tides turned, and in 1925...
Ulysses, that Bible of our younger intellectuals, which differs from the real one in that it manages to be so consistently dull.
In 1929...
Ulysses, that amazing tour de force, which has had more influence on our younger writers than any other work of our generation.
And so the good doctor changed as the winds of fashion blew. Of this writer's first book, he wrote,
No doubt it's well enough, but after all, old Rabelais is really so much better.
But then the merry-go-round went round, and the doctor took the writer to his bosom and to his home to meet his wife.
I've been waiting for so long to meet you. Oh, darling, here he is.
How do you do?
You wrote the book?
Well, yes,
I don't know, but somehow you make me laugh.
What?
You amuse me. There's something about you that is like an elf.
An elf? Me?
Yes, an elf.
You know, my wife was awfully interested in that book of yours. Of course, we all were awfully.
Well, that's very kind.
As a matter of fact, I wrote 3 full columns on it. I believe it was the longest review I've done since Theodore Dreiser's American Tragedy.
That's so?
I was really awfully interested. I called your book a kind of spiritual biography.
But I didn't...
It really made me think of Goethe. And then part of it made me think of War and Peace. Tolstoy, you know.
I know.
I remember saying to Mrs. Turner, you know, there are times when he's very much like Tolstoy.
And like an elf. So like an elf.
And, of course, there's the Moby Dick influence, too.
But I didn't...
I know. I told my wife at the time that there were passages, magnificent passages, that were much like Herman Melville.
And like an elf.
But more like Moby Dick.
But Moby Dick was a whale, a tremendous whale.
Exactly. Precisely like a whale.
And like an elf.
He parodied the critics in savage lampoon. But when his massive book rolled off the press, he burned for fame, for success, for glory.
And yet I longed desperately for my book's success. I wanted it to have the position of proud esteem and honor in the world that I longed for it to have. I was surprised with the response it had in my native town. For months it seethed with a fury which I had not believed possible. The book was denounced from the pulpit by the ministers of leading churches. One venerable old lady I had known all of my life wrote me.
I never believed in lynch law. I've always been a Southern lady. But if you come back, I will do my best to gather a number of patriotic Southern gentlemen who will drag your overgrown carcass across the public square and hang you on the elm tree in front of the courthouse.
He's back.
You seen him yet?
Which one is he?
There. Over there, before the shoe shine shop.
Is that him?
Mm-hmm.
Why, it's fat around the waist. He's getting bald on top.
Just look at him, will you? A snot-nosed kid who went away and wrote a book. While back, he had the whole town up on a lather. Everybody claimed he'd been insulted in the book.
Well, he did get old man Puddle. A palsied, querulous, lecherous reprobate. That's what he called him. He gave him a different name, but I could tell. Woo-wee, was old man Puddle boiling.
Now, just look at that. All those people crowding around him. They called him every name they could think of, and now they're crawling over one another just to shake his hand.
Yes, sir, boy. I'm your Uncle Bacchus from Zebulon.
Mama told me about you.
Yeah, your grandpapa's son was my own brother. Yes, sir, my own brother. Oh, it was wild country round here then. Yes, sir. But it's all dead now. Wildlife's all dying now. Yes, sir, wildlife's all dying now.
And what's going on there across the street, Uncle Bacchus?
Oh, little argument, I guess. Yes, a little argument. There's Ted Lee and them at Rogers. They've been swinging corn up at the quarry, I expect. Oh, don't pay it no mind. They had a fight 6 years ago. Ted cut Emmett up, and now they get arguing every Saturday night. That there Sags, the cop in the white shirt there. He's scared, no.
Scared of Ted?
No scared of that big fella behind him there. That's Ted's cousin, and he's mean. Ooh, plumb mean.
Now you leave me be, you hear, Ted? Look out, Ted's got a gun.
Here, boy, get behind that car. You ain't got no protection.
Why doesn't somebody stop it?
Who do you suggest, boy?
Go on, shoot, blast you, shoot. It means I'm going to. Well, go on, shoot. I ain't scared of you.
Hey, that came over here.
Duck your head, boy, duck your head.
Go on, you no good dog, shoot. Got him.
Where'd you get him, Joe?
Right under the eye. You never know what hit him.
Oh, you better get on, Ted. They'll be looking for you.
Why, that yellow dog wasn't going to get smart with me. Who's this?
Must be cousin of yours, Ted. Leastways, he's my nephew.
Well, sure, I know about you. You're the fella that wrote the book.
Well,
Sure, I know your folks, but don't you put this in no book, you hear?
No, look, that gun is...
Because if you do, me and you are going to get together.
Hey, you better get going, Ted. You went too far this time.
Get out. You couldn't get a jury here in Zebulon to convict me. I'm a Reed. Half the county's kin to me.
They'll be looking for you.
They don't make jails that can hold a Reed. Well, somebody sweep that scum off this sidewalk, you hear?
No, boy, like I was saying, country round here's changed. No more hunting. Wildlife's all gone. Yes, sir. Wildlife's all gone.
Proud death, whom I have seen by dark darkness at so many times. What have you ever touched that you have not touched with love and pity, death? Proud death, wherever we have seen your face, you came with mercy, love, and pity. Because I have seen and known you so well, and have lived so long with loneliness, your brother, I do not fear you any longer, friend, and I have made this praise for you.
He wandered through the night, through the hills around his birthplace, through the gutters and alleys of the old world, Paris, London, and through the gridiron streets of the city, the broad avenues, the rocky highlands of Manhattan, and the dark lowlands of the outer city, the dark and teeming streets of Brooklyn.
I beg your pardon.
Huh?
How do you get to 18th Avenue and 67th Street?
You got me, Chief. I ain't been here long myself. Where's the place? Out in Flatbush somewhere?
No, Bensonhurst.
Bensonhurst.
That's right. How do you get there?
Beats me, Chief. Hey, any of you guys know where it is?
What, Bensonhurst?
Sure.
You take the 4th Avenue Express, get off at 59th Street, change to a Sea Beach local there, get off at 18th and 62nd, then walk down 4 blocks. That's all you gotta do.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. I know where it is now. You're all wet, bud. Look, fella. You change to the West End line at 36. Get off at New Utrecht and 16th Avenue, walk 2 blocks over and 4 blocks up. You get that?
Well,
Go on. What are you talking about? The guy's crazy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. How long you been living here?
All my life. I was born in Williamsburg, and I can tell you things about this town you never heard of.
You're pretty wise, ain't you?
I'm wise enough to know a phony when I see one.
Yeah, well, you're so wise that someone's gonna bust you one right in the snoot someday.
Now, listen here,
All
you...
right, Mac, all right. That's my train, see, so I gotta go. I'll be seeing you sometime. In the cemetery, I hope. You come with me, hey? Hurry up, you'll close them doors.
all right, I'm with you.
I'd have clipped him if the train didn't come in. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now, where you going out in Bensonhurst? What number you looking for?
No number. I don't know anyone out there.
Then what you going out there for?
Just to see the place. I like the sound of the name, Bensonhurst.
What you trying to hand me? You trying to kid me? You getting wise?
No, I like to look at places with names like that.
How'd you know it was there?
I got a map.
A map?
Sure, it tells the names of places. Here.
Look at that, for crying out loud. The whole joint. I'll be Canarsie and East New York, Flatbush, Greenburn, the whole works. You been to those places?
Sure, most of them. I was down at Red Hook last night.
For the love of Mike, Red Hook. What'd you do down there?
Just walk around, have a couple of beers.
Oh, just walk around.
Sure, looking at things. One time I was walking across some fields, and there were some ships at the edge, all lighted up.
Oh, sure, you was at the Erie Basin. Then what'd you do?
Just walked around, watched the people, had a few beers.
Nothing happened?
And 2 men started a fight, but the bartender got a ball pad out from under the bar. That stopped it.
Jeez, Red Hook.
Sure, that's where I was.
Well, you keep out of there. You stay away from there.
Why?
It's a good place to stay away from, that's all.
Why? Why is it?
But crying out... What's the use of talking to you? You might get lost down there, that's all.
Lost? No, I wouldn't get lost. I got a map.
A map in Red Hook, oh, brother.
Well, how long would it take for me to know Brooklyn without the map?
Look, mister, you ain't never going to get to know Brooklyn. There's no guy living that knows Brooklyn true and true because it'd take a guy a lifetime just to find his way around this fouled-up town.
But with a map,
Look, Junior, you ain't never going to get to know Brooklyn with no map. You can wander around Red Hook all you want with that little piece of paper. But you're going to find out you'll never live long enough to know the whole of Brooklyn. Like I said, it'd take a guy a lifetime to know Brooklyn true and true. And even then, you wouldn't know all.
Only the dead know Brooklyn, and only the dead know the whole of life. The writer wanders through the night, hungry for knowledge, hungry for life. There are so many faces he has not seen, so many voices he has not heard, names he has not spoken, foods he has not eaten. Only the dead know Brooklyn. But a man can't wait. The words must go down, and a man can't wait.
The street looked dark, tranquil, almost deserted. As quiet as it could ever be. And at that brief hour when all its furious noise and movement of the day seems stilled for a moment's breathing space, and yet preparing for another day. Again I looked and saw the deathless sky, the huge starred visage of the night, and heard the boats then on the river. And instantly, an enormous sanity and hope of strong, exultant joy surged up in me again. And like a man who knows that he's mad with thirst, yet sees real rivers at the desert's edge, I knew I should not die and strangle like a mad dog in the tunnel's dark. I knew I should see light once more, and know new coasts and come into strange harbors, and see again as I had once, new lands and morning.
New coasts and strange harbors, new lands and morning. The writer raced against time, a frenzied search for what he knew not. for a meaning, for a door to open on a world with childhood left behind, and yet a childhood fulfilled.
The deepest search in life, the thing that in one way or another was central to all living, was man's search to find a father. Not merely the father of his flesh, not merely the lost father of his youth, but the image of strength and wisdom external to his need and superior to his hunger, to which the belief and power of his own life could be united.
But that search was cut short. The mountain of words, the endless stream of manuscript, were arrows pointing to a future that never came. The writer could not free his mind from the dead grip of childhood and the child's dependency. He needed time, and time was denied him.
The years flow by like water, and one day it is spring again. Shall we ever ride out of the gates of the east again, as we did once at morning, and seek again as we did then, new lands, the promise of the war, and glory, joy, and triumph in a shining city? Oh, youth, still wounded, living, feeling with a woe unutterable, still grieving with a grief intolerable, still thirsting with a thirst unquenchable, where are we to seek? For the wild tempest breaks above us, the wild fury beats about us, the wild hunger feeds upon us, and we are houseless, doorless, unassuaged, and driven on forever. And our brains are mad, our hearts are wild and wordless, and we cannot speak. We cannot speak. Oh, softly, softly the great dark horses of sleep are galloping over the land. The tides of sleep are moving in the hearts of men. They flow like rivers in the night across the continent of night, until the hearts of all men living are relieved of their harsh weight. The souls of all men who have drawn in the breath of anguish are healed, assuaged, and conquered by the vast enchantments of dark, silent, all-engulfing sleep. Low upon the lowlands and high upon the hills flows gently sleep, smooth, sliding sleep. Oh, sleep, sleep, sleep.
These were the words of Thomas Wolfe. These were the bricks with which he built his monumental towers of manuscript. The NBC University of the Air has brought you this program of selections from the lesser-known works of Thomas Wolfe to provide a taste, a sample of the giant on the wreck, tortured by doubt and burning hopelessness. Ernest Kenoy has arranged scenes and selections from Wolfe's short story volume, From Death to Morning, from the volume The Hills Beyond, and from his critical essay, The Story of a Novel. Giant on the Rack was produced and directed by Homer Heck, and the role of the writer, Thomas Wolfe, was played by Ken Griffin. The narrator was Sherman Marks. Others in the cast were Helen Baymiller, Hilda Graham, Paul Belvedere, Johnny Coons, Donald Gallagher, Jack Lester, Arthur Peterson, Cliff Subir, and Russ Reed. The music was composed by Emil Soderstrom, and the orchestra was under the direction of Bernard Berquist. The NBC University of the Air is proud to announce that this summer series of contemporary novels is being used by the University of Louisville as part of their home study course, and it is our plan to make such courses available eventually in other areas. Those of you who have enjoyed the world's great novels will want to know about the new NBC University Theater, which makes its debut over some of these stations next Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. As the first of a series of radio plays adapted from living literature, NBC's University Theater next week will present a performance of Main Street by Sinclair Lewis. This is Charles Chan speaking. This program came to you from Chicago and is a presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.